As yet more revelations drop in regards to Rishi Sunak and his wife, and as damning and unfair as they are, he's hardly alone in using the privilege of his position in order to feather his own nest amongst politicians. Stephen Kinnock, it has been revealed, was ordinarily domiciled in Switzerland back in 2010, whilst living in Denmark with his wife, the then Danish leader of the opposition, Helle Thorning-Schmidt. He held non-dom status whilst his wife challenged to lead her country, which the following year in 2011 she did. He joined in amongst the resignations from Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet as part of the Labour right's pathetic chicken coup, and so worked against the Corbyn-led government as so many of that party did, despite it being what so many people around this country needed. Now, his face will forever and deservedly be remembered for the look of shock on his face as the 2017 general election exit poll dropped, remembered for more than anything he's ever done politically, because it all went horribly wrong for you and your faction, didn't it, Stevie? It wasn't in the script. This wasn't how the plan was supposed to go. He's also proof that nepotism in Parliament doesn't just extend to employing family, being the son of a former Labour leader, and frankly, just as useless. Danish authorities questioned Kinnock's tax arrangements when it was pointed out that he was ordinarily domiciled in Switzerland and accused him of avoiding paying Danish taxes. Just as is the case with the Sunaks, though, it was proven Kinnock hadn't done anything legally wrong. It doesn't exactly feel right either. It might be legal, but it's bloody amoral, surely, to avoid paying tax when ordinary folk have to, just because you're wealthy enough to engage in a tax avoidance scheme, which is really all non-dom status amounts to. And the optics are even worse when you're married to a state legislator. Yet again, the Tories and the Labour right proving they are one as bad as each other. Kinnock is, of course, back in the shadow cabinet now, under Keir Starmer. The tax avoidance cannot be acceptable in any form amongst our parliamentarians when they decide tax rules for the rest of us. Rishi Sunak, it now emerges, held a US green card until last October when he finally surrendered it. Now, to hold one of these, you're basically saying you're a US citizen and you've agreed to pay your taxes in the US, regardless of where your money was made. There's none of this non-dom crap over there. Now, Sunak was de facto an American, whilst an elected British MP, and later working as our Chancellor of the Exchequer. He was in charge of our economy here, yet he would have been paying his taxes to the IRS instead of here. Despite living at 11 Downing Street, one of the most British addresses you could possibly have, he had legally declared himself a US citizen. No doubt Bozo said it'd be okay. He was born one after all, and only gave it up once the IRS started chasing him up. But it's not just a problem for us here in Britain. It's a problem for the US too, as this chap at a recent White House briefing pointed out.
The UK reported that Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, had a US green card which he surrendered this past October. He's been an MP since 2015, and USCIS manual says that serving in a foreign government or standing for election in a foreign government is not compatible with lawful permanent resident status. Why was this not flagged earlier?
I would point you to the State Department or the Department of Homeland Security. I don't have any more comment from here.
I mean, is it a problem? Does the president see it as a problem that it's possible for someone to serve at a high level in a foreign government and maintain lawful permanent resident status in the U.S.? I mean, what if this were someone who was serving in the Russian Duma?
It wasn't. But I would also, again, point you to the portions of the government that oversee green cards and oversee, the status of documents. I'm happy to bump it for them as well and see if there's more we can provide to you.
Sunak's name has now also cropped up in the tax avoidance haven of the Cayman Islands as a trust beneficiary. Just how far does the Chancellor's immediate connections to tax avoidance go? How much more is there going to come out? How many more MPs are doing this? How many more, or their spouses, have non-dom status? How many benefit directly from it? How many more are actively working in the arena of tax avoidance? We really need to know, because if they're making rules here, but their loyalties lie with another nation or their own vested interests, they cannot claim to be working in our interests. If they are legislating tax rules for us but avoiding them themselves, that cannot be right. And let's not forget about Starmer himself either, and his desire once upon a time to work for Mishcon de Rea, a firm that advises clients in making what they call tax efficiencies, whilst he was a shadow minister under Jeremy Corbyn, only for Corbyn to step in and stop him, of course. Let's not forget Margaret Hodge, who received dividends from a family business that operated out of a tax haven. How about David Cameron and everyone else named in the Pandora Papers or the Paradise Papers? Theresa May's husband, Philip, working for a hedge fund, profiting from companies practicing tax avoidance. The many and varied ways politicians across the spectrum are connected to and have benefited from tax avoidance practices or are sought to are sickening and wrong, and it makes them all unfit to hold office. Now, the 2019 Labour manifesto pledged to scrap non-dom status. This Sunak business wouldn't even be a story now if Corbyn had become PM. Literally, the best chance we had in a generation to change things, again, ripped away from us by the lies and deceit of those with privilege and power, from politics to the papers. I can't imagine Starmer's Labour, nor certainly the Tories, doing a damn thing about it. In fact, they basically rubbished the idea today. Despite all this, though, and this is, of course, aside from all the donors paying for MPs to back their interests, their way of thinking, and indeed donations do come from other non-doms and people with vested interests from other parts of the world, the Russian funding of the Tories, the Israeli influences in Labour. Would you knowingly vote for somebody to hold public office, to potentially be a minister running national affairs, to represent you in Parliament, whose loyalties were to another country? Parliamentarian tax affairs, along with donations, should be made public, and non-dom status for everyone should be abolished. An investigation by Whitehall is now being launched into the Sunak's tax affairs, whilst Rishi himself bleats about wanting an investigation too, but into who leaked his wife's tax affairs to the press, completely missing the point and having to reinforce the belief that he's only sorry that they got found out, not sorry for what they've done. If you live here, you should bloody well pay your taxes here and do so properly, just like everyone else has to.